All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I'm your host today, Jabron Curtis, and I do not have Steve with me, but I have two fabulous gentlemen uh, going by the name of Geoff and Ricky. Geoff, how you doing today?
What's up, man? How you doing? Glad to be here.
Pretty good. And Ricky, how you doing on this lovely Friday?
Feeling good, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Well, free agency is kind of dwindling down, but the NFL draft is going to be happening in almost a month or so, and we just finally got our first couple of draft pick movement. The Dolphins made out like a bandit, if you ask me today. They traded number 3 overall pick to the 49ers for the 12th pick, a 2021 third round, a compensatory pick, and a first round pick in 2022 and 2023. And then they just kind of called up the Eagles, flipped that 12th pick to go down to the sixth pick, and they gave up a draft pick to the Eagles in 2022. So, guys, how do you feel about these moves? Who do you think won, and if there's a loser out of any of the teams?
So, as the Niners fan, I actually love the move. Not only does it, potentially give us a franchise quarterback, it's going to sort of solidify my prediction from last season that they would get rid of Jimmy G eventually and move on. No one wanted to believe me. They kept saying it over and over again. He's our guy. He's our guy. I kept saying, nope, he's not going to be here. They have to say that he's under contract, and they have to say that. And even to this point, they're still saying Jimmy G is our guy because they can't kill his trade value because they're trying to trade him right now. So if they know that they're going to cut him anyway, no one's going to trade for him. So they're still giving that company line there. Dolphins, of course, made out like bandits. I think I saw somewhere where like they did the breakdown of the Larry Tunsil trade and how all this has kind of led to all these first round picks. It started with him and it kind of just snowballed into all these first round picks. So whoever's making the decisions over there for the Dolphins, they're doing it right. I need to get them to run some of my dynasty teams because they are definitely backing those first round picks. That's what we all love to do. The Eagles, I think the Eagles pretty much told everybody now that Jalen Hurts is their quarterback. The fact that they gave up that 6th pick, there was some question if it was going to be him or not. They signed Joe Flacco to be a backup. It's going to be the Hurts show this year. There's no denying it now. I don't think the Eagles are in the quarterback market anymore. So I think overall, all the teams won. This is one of those in the Dynasty League where I think everyone made themselves better. I think it worked out for everybody. I think the Eagles now can move on with Hurts. I think the Dolphins kind of, told everybody that they're going to be going with Tua. They'll probably get, an offensive lineman there at the top and just build it from there. The Niners can get their franchise quarterback, hopefully trade Jimmy G to the Patriots and get some more of those picks back. So I think it's going to be a good thing overall for all 3 teams.
And how about yourself, Ricky?
Yeah, just to touch on top of that, I would actually like to start with the 49ers specifically said he's our guy this year. So I think it's pretty clear after a year they're gonna move on. Probably midseason, I'd say Fields or whoever they take. I personally would love to see them go with Sewell, and I think that would be really incredible. But I know people don't expect that, and everybody's going QB. I'm happy for that. I grew up with Jerry Rice and a huge Joe Montana fan, so I'm very happy that they're finally going to make some moves. Nothing against Jimmy. He's a good-looking guy. But as far as his game, not really my style. We
Can't
see
stay
how
healthy.
QBs are. Yeah, that too. That's huge.
All right.
Sorry, man. I keep
It's all right.
My connection just went out. All right, you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right. There we go. Yeah, so free agency has been interesting. Very excited for Hurts as well. What can I say, man? The guy's a beast. I know people are kind of underestimating him. I don't really think that's going to happen. I think he's going to come out smashing. I think he's going to be a beast. So I'm pretty excited about him as well. Really, Tua, he's also pretty good. I'd say I like him a little bit better than I like what the 49ers are doing. Not to say that the rookie couldn't take over when 49ers take Fields or Wilson, whoever they're going to go for. But Tua, to me, just needs a little bit more progress. So I think maybe midseason we'll see him kind of start to show some flames, and I'm excited to see that.
All right. Yeah, I'm an Eagles fan, so we're kind of going full circle.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
I've been predicting after the Carson Wentz deal, I just kind of just made the realization this franchise is not going to be good for this year, probably not next year. And I just kind of thought hey, they could run Jalen Hurts out, run the kind of salary cap ravaged team out there, and will probably be bad. You get a draft pick, and then boom, you start your process next year. But then you get another pick, so you're kind of moving in a direction. You might have 3 first-round picks next year if Carson Wentz plays out in Indy. So it's good kind of forward thinking for the Eagles, and I'm okay with that. And like I said, Dolphins may like a bandit, and I think San Francisco's doing the right thing. Like, I'm not a believer in Jimmy G. You guys definitely need to get that guy that you believe in, the coach believes in, and I just think if you get a young quarterback, if it's not like maybe the 3rd, 4th best quarterback, I guess you're gonna get. But I think even if you don't start him right away, I believe you guys will still move in a good direction, just because that defense is so good, and you guys have been through like the CJ Beathard's of the world like 2 years in a row. So
and I still hold firm that Jimmy G will not be our week 1 starter. He's only owed, I think he's owed $28 million against the cap if we keep him. If we cut him, he's only $3 million against the cap. It's $3 million in dead cap money. We're not going to keep, an expensive bridge quarterback. I don't think with the rookie quarterback there. I think he will be with Patriot week 1.
Wow, hey. Week 1, huh? You really think he won't even start week 1?
I like that take.
He won't make it a couple more weeks, and he'll be gone because that dead cap money. I mean, $28 million is a lot of money to pay somebody that
for sure
you're not going to be paying. In the future, we can be using that on some of these ancillary free agents to kind of come in and help us out. I think Jimmy G is just got one foot out the door already.
Yeah, I just think the camaraderie, they're going to be. It's going to be hard to get Kittle and all his little boys to be like, yeah, sure, just let's kick out our boy Jimmy. I think it could happen before the trade deadline, but I think he'll start at least 4 weeks. That's my guess.
Fair.
All right, I'm liking these San Francisco takes. Well, you guys can just save some for later, guys. Please.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, in our off-season dynasty recap, we're gonna finally go to the NFC West. Unfortunately, we're not starting with the San Francisco 49ers, but we're going to start off with your rivals or foes, whatever you want to call them, the Seattle Seahawks. And particularly, we're talking Russell Wilson. In the offseason, I guess there's rumors of him moving teams. It kind of heated up, and then it kind of died down. So in a dynasty perspective, are you guys nervous about Russell Wilson's future?
I have zero. I don't know how to word it. Zero nervousness, I guess is what I can say. He's not going anywhere. Yeah. The Bears offered some ridiculous package that if the Seahawks really wanted to move him, he would have been moved. I mean, they offered, I think, 3 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and then 2 unnamed starters for Russell Wilson. If they're not moving him for that much, then they're not moving him at all. So I think Russell Wilson will be fine. He'll be there, and he's he's one of those guys that's a true leader. If you've seen any of those little mic'd up tapes on him with him, I think he's gonna come out and play just fine. He'll lead his guys to a 10-6, 11-5 season once again and be a fancy stud. So I'm not worried about him at all.
Yeah, I feel the same, man. I think Seattle will definitely be in the playoffs. I think Russ is just trying to be heard, and he has every right to be. I totally agree with him trying to get some weapons. I know he's trying to get a little AB over there too, even though I think we all know AB's staying wherever Tom's staying. But I think Russ is good, man. I think Metcalf will be fine. I hope Lockett stays. I heard some rumblings he would go, but if he stays, I think they have a great core, and I know we're about to talk about another guy they just acquired, so I'll hold back before I just jump in that one.
And me, I'm not worried at all. Even if he were to leave and go to another team, he will honestly just make that skill position group much better. The upside would be much greater for those players. And yeah, he had a hot start to last year, and then he kind of fizzled out. And at the end of the day, he's still the QB8 in our fantasy football season. So I know Seattle's offensive line isn't great, but if he went to the Bears, I don't think that offensive line is even better. And at least Seattle, he let the fire under Seattle's feet. They went to trade for one of the Raiders' offensive linemen, so they're trying to make some moves to make him happy. So I'm not worried at all with Russell Wilson.
Same.
Yeah, I think if you look at the Seahawks over the years, I mean, I think it was a draft 2 years ago, and everyone's saying they need O-line, they need to protect Russell Wilson. They drafted a kicker before they got the first offensive lineman in that draft. That's just disrespect right there. Okay, we got this franchise quarterback back here who needs protection.
That's pretty bad.
Let's go get a kicker first, and then they end up cutting him anyway. So it was not a good look.
Oh, Jesus, Seattle. Oh, my God. Well, we'll go over to the running backs. They did sign Chris Carson to extension. But we're gonna talk about the lesser pieces in the offense. Rashad Penny and DJ Dallas. Rashad Penny's been pretty much on the shelf for the last 2 seasons. DJ Dallas, rookie last year, in some spots he was proven to be useful in PPR leagues. But are you guys trying to acquire these guys on the low by any means?
Ricky, I'll let you go first on this one. I've been kind of stealing the thunder here, so I'll let you go.
Oh, it's cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm a DJ guy. I mean, not to say I think he's going to take Carson out of the way. I didn't expect Carson to come back. I like Carson as well. I think Carroll, as we all know, he's just a ground and pound guy, and I think DJ will get some looks. I think a lot more than Homer for sure, at least in my opinion. I know they were teammates, but I don't think that makes any difference. I think DJ's just a better athlete. I also think he's worth getting in Dynasty. I do have him as a couple late round picks that I've taken in some startups lately. But I don't know. You can't really know which weeks to start him. So I think he's just one of those guys you can keep at the bottom. As far as like Penny, never been a fan. I thought they kind of jumped the gun and took him a little early. It's unfortunate he got hurt. If he didn't get hurt, I'm sure he would have been great. I did see some of his tape. He looks good, but yeah, not a Penny guy. So I don't actually think Penny's going up or down despite some of the pre-hype before Carson re-signed. I think Carson will just be great until he's hurt, and then I think DJ will get some looks.
Yeah, I think they're basically, they only have value to the Chris Carson owner. I think, you know, if Chris Carson gets hurt, which we know he can get hurt.
Handcuff.
It's just, it's basically a handcuff, and it's a deep handcuff at that. It's not one that you're really going to try to go out and acquire. Sure. And the only thing I will say is that with Dallas being a little bit of the younger guy, I know Rashad Penny came a year before, but Chris Carson's supposed quote unquote 4-year deal is really a 1-year deal because they can really get out of that contract after 1 year. So Chris Carson's really on a 1-year rental. So if you're looking long term and you think that Dallas is a guy that could take that position, maybe you go out and buy him super cheap now and just stash him and then hope that Chris Carson does get, cut or let go at the end of this season. And then you got to start running back to the Seahawks next year. But that's really taking a big risk. But I think if you're going to buy him, if you have any belief at all in Dallas and you're going to buy him, go do it now while he's still cheap.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't really want to acquire any of them. Just like you guys mentioned, it's just an insurance policy. And then even last year when Chris Carson went down, what did Pete Carroll do? He went by running back by committee. So you're still going to need the other piece, and you're not going to really have a productive fantasy player. Good, maybe long term. I'm still going to go with DJ Dallas, but for me, that injury history with Rashard Penny just kind of worries me, even though he's slightly young, but he still hasn't proven himself. Even with that first round draft pick that they proved to spin on him. And I think this next question is almost without being said, depending on how you guys feel about wide receivers. But DK Metcalf, is he a top 5 dynasty wide receiver?
So I was super high on Metcalf even coming into the 2020 season. I actually had him in my top 10 in my redraft rankings, not just my dynasty rankings. I knew he was a monster. So I have him number 1 overall for receivers right now in Dynasty. I think he's a beast as long as Wilson's going to be there. And I think Wilson's going to be there for at least 4 or 5 more years. He's not going anywhere. I think DK Metcalf is going to be the next, quote unquote Calvin Johnson type numbers pretty soon here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think Metcalf's a beast. I mean, I wouldn't put him top 5 myself, but I have to draft him there. That's for sure. I mean, in any draft you do, if you don't take him in the top 5, as far as receivers go, I mean, you're not going to get him. So, yeah, I'm a Metcalf guy. I'd put him in the top 7, top 8. That's just my own opinion. But yeah, I think he's a beast.
Is that top 8, top 7 overall, or top 8?
No,
top
receivers.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
he's giving you dynasty rankings. My bad.
He's top 3 for me, and I get your point. Why, for wide receivers, but I get why you probably have him lower just due to his play style. I know sometimes he's kind of not getting that much yardage, and he'll get that touchdown, which kind of gives him good outputs. But dude, the guy is a monster. He's young. Tyler Lockett's getting older, and he could be that number 1 guy, and they could put some. It could be like an AJ Brown situation sooner or later. He just be that guy, and then they have just smaller pieces around him. So I'm pretty huge on Metcalf.
Yeah, I mean, I have him in a lot of leagues. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to undersell him. I think
have
he's a
0
monster.
shares. I'm so mad.
You got to reach, man. You got to take him a little earlier.
Funny thing is, and it's a tragic story, but as high as I was on Metcalf last year, I sold him, and I regretted it every day.
What'd you get for him, Geoff?
I don't even want to say, man.
Oh no.
It's that bad. It was bad.
Oh.
I was banking on Damian Harris taking over that backfield, and I was banking on N'Keal Harry being a number one receiver, and banking on Odell Beckham Jr. making a return. And none of those things happened. So those are the three guys I got back for him. I got Beckham, Damian Harris, and N'Keal Harry, and they screwed me over.
That's tough. Yeah.
Oh man, we might have to get the police on the line.
Yeah.
Get that reversed. So I guess the next guy on the list for the receivers will be Tyler Lockett. I know he was pretty much very inconsistent last year. He had a couple monster games, and then he just kind of was a ghost for pretty much like towards the end of the stretch of the season. But what would you guys do to acquire him? Or if you have him on your team, what would you sell him for?
So I think his stock is down right now. And I think if I have him, I'm just holding him because I think his value, once we get through all this trade talk, rumors, as long as he stays in Seattle, I think his value will go back up. And we've seen it every year with Russell Wilson. He seems to always start off super hot, while like we're talking MVP, and then he always seems to fall off. So when Russell Wilson does it again this year and Lockett is hot, that's when you want to sell. Sell him when he's hot. Get him on that one of those big monster games. 2 touchdown type game where it looks like Wilson and him are on the same page, and then sell him. And then that, because he may not be there next year. And at the end of the season, he always tends to fade off with Russell Wilson. So I'd sell him then.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think he's definitely a beast as well. I've called a lot of guys beast, but I actually like Lockett a lot. I'm a little bit more of a fan of him, mostly because I think him and Russ are very close. And I think that does play a huge factor in how much work he gets in fantasy. Having said that, I 100% agree. I think selling him now, you're not going to get more than a second. I mean, I own him some places, and I would love to get a first, but no one's going to give me a first. So I feel like, all right, I'll wait till he has a couple of those 35-point games, and then it'll be pretty easy to acquire first, in my opinion.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, you ain't going to get nearly on the dollar what you could have got from him in the beginning of this season. I know like some fantasy owners are probably looking at that like last 5 games or so. And
I don't know why they wait. They should just do it. I mean, when they're playing like that, sell him, especially a guy at his age. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
I agree with you. That's kind of my philosophy too. But you just got to hold on to him. Like if you want to sell him for top, like I say, 12, 14 pick in the draft, I wouldn't do it. If you want to flip him for like a RB2, I really don't want to do it. So you just hold him for his worth. Like he will prove to give you some points in 2021, and you just gotta hope and sell when the opportunity is right.
Obviously. What RB2 though? Like, would you sell him for Hunt? I would.
Yeah, I'm selling for Hunt. That's probably.
It doesn't have to be like a. I guess like a mid to good tier RB2, but like a guy who's getting 12 carries a game, who has reception work like Hunt profiles, why not?
Yeah,
especially if you're an RB needy team.
Yeah, they're hard to come by. I mean, I actually like Hunt, so I was just throwing his name out because I think they go around the same 5-6 round.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All
right, and to the wasteland of the Seattle Seahawks. I guess if you put them all together, they'd probably be a good tight end. But I know they have Will Disley on the team still, but they just acquired Gerald Everett. You think he could have a bounce back season or restore some of his like trade value now that he's in Seattle?
Rick, I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, I actually just took Everett actually in a second to. It was a 25-round startup dynasty draft. I took him 24th round. He's just sitting there. There's really nobody there at that round. So why not just take a flyer on him? I wouldn't call it a bounce back personally. I just wouldn't classify it as that. I feel like he's always shared with someone, pretty much Higbee the whole time, as we know. And in all the times he's shared, he's had, I think at least, if I'm not mistaken, 3 to 4 double-digit games. You could classify them as top 10 games, but there's only 3 or 4 of them a year. I think on a team where he can get the majority of the share, I know Disley's there, but Disley has that Achilles. Eventually that'll creep up on him. I do feel like if Disley gets hurt, Everett, without a doubt, can have at least 7 to 8 touchdowns, in my opinion. Be a top 12 tight end. I'm not saying he's a stud. I just think that for fantasy, yeah, he's definitely startable, especially if you get him at the value I just mentioned, where you get him in the 24th, 25th last pick of your startup dynasty draft.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think the Seahawks tight ends, whenever they've had fantasy value, has always been touchdown related. I mean, even Jimmy Graham, when he was a shell of himself, I think he had a season with like 11, 12 touchdowns, and that's
exactly
where he got his value from. And I think Everett can be that guy. I mean, he's 6'3", 240 pounds, athletic as hell. And like he was sharing, a lot of that in the Rams offense. He was sharing a lot of it. And then they weren't the offense that would go to the tight end in the red zone. I think the most TDs he had in his season was 3. But if he goes to Seattle and increases that number up to 6 or 7, and even keeps the same stats that he had with the Rams,
right,
he's tight end 1 right there with just the touchdowns alone. So I think definitely he's got a chance to be that, that sleeper tight end where you're going to get him super late in redraft leagues and end up being a top 12, top 13 tight end.
I like that take in redraft leagues because we're always trying to find that late round kind of guy just to propel your team. And for his like dynasty value, I don't think it's going to be something that's going to just propel like immediately. Just like you mentioned, both you guys mentioned, like he's shared the load with another tight end. It seems like that's going to happen again. And even throughout his career, basically he's just hovering around 400 yards. So, but to Jeff's point, if he does get a little bit more touchdown lucky, like if he could get 5-6 touchdowns, double up, like he's going to be in a prominent position to definitely retain some value or just get some shine back on his. He's still a somewhat young player too.
Yeah, he's definitely. I think he can get 6. I think he's definitely able to get 6.
All right, we gotta bet that on Vegas then.
Already took it, man. Nah.
Straight cash, homie. So we're gonna go to the Arizona Cardinals. Their young, prolific quarterback Kyler Murray. I don't know where you guys have him ranked and the total dynasty quarterbacks, but I know a lot of people would probably just have Pat Mahomes there and pencil it in. But can you make an argument for Kyler Murray over Patrick Mahomes?
Can I make an argument? Probably. It wouldn't be a very good argument, but
Same.
I could pull one up and probably, you talk about his legs and everything else. But
yeah, that's it. That's the only argument I have is the rushing value.
Yeah, I got my rankings pulled up. Actually, I have number 3 right now because I got Josh Allen number 2 because I think Josh Allen has a little bit of Mahomes in him in the passing game and then has a little bit of Kyler Murray in him in the running game. So I think he has the best of both worlds. But yeah, I mean, you're pretty much like, you fill out those forms where like the ink is already put on there. Mahomes is on there. He's permanent. You can't erase him. Start from there. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I definitely cannot put him ahead of Mahomes. There's just no way I could do it. And I like Kyler. But the shoulder injury scared me last year a little bit. So I feel like just that alone is going to hold me back. But yeah, if he didn't have that injury, I mean, I'll tell you, I was trying to buy him like crazy when he was going off last year, but I just couldn't get him. And as soon as he got hurt, like everyone was trying to sell him. So I do think I'm not the only one who's concerned about that injury. And, we'll see how it does this year. They definitely acquired a great line, or at least a decent one. So let's see. Maybe he'll be a stud, and I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's all about the rushing volume, and specifically, like if you're playing in like a 4-point per passing touchdown league, like Kyler Murray is just kind of killing the stats.
Yeah,
and like we saw before he got the shoulder injury, the guy was pretty much scampering 10 times plus a game, over 60 yards or so, a couple games, 80, 90 yards, and then he gets injured, and he's just doing these little scampers just to get out to the line, the opposite line of scrimmage. So if he doesn't run, then we kind of were just seeing like, oh, what's Kyler doing? Like he doesn't have like that outrageous like passing volume or just like the upside to score like the touchdowns like on a whim like Patrick Mahomes does. So like I think long term, like I want to go with a safe route, pocket passer, a guy who can run a little bit over the sporadic, shifty guy who's kind of slight, but is, oh my God, he's this amazing kind of talent too. So both good guys, but I got to go Pat.
Yeah, I think with Kyler too, the thing that I like about Kyler as far as rushing ability, because he is a smaller guy, but he's one of those guys that never seems to take a big hit. He always seems to find a way to get out of bounds or get down. I mean, look at a guy like Deshaun Watson, who's, a running quarterback too. He seems to always take the big hit. It's almost like Deshaun, you need to get down, get out of the way, where I think Kyler has that sixth sense, like, okay, I need to get, I got what I can get. Let me get out of bounds. Let me get down. And I think that kind of, helps him a little bit in rushing ability because then he won't get hurt as often.
Oh man, well I'm praying like as soon as he got like hurt, like I was just trying to like shop him off. So I'm praying that he comes back. Obviously,
I hope he does. Man, I hope so.
So we saw Kenyon Drake leave town and go to the Las Vegas Raiders. What a move! So thrilling. But that leaves Chase Edmonds alone for now in this Arizona backfield, can he be the future running back for the team, or do you think that they're going to acquire someone by any means, specifically the draft?
I
Go ahead.
like Chase. Yeah, sorry, Geoff. I like Chase. I feel like he's very underrated. I know that word is thrown around quite often, but I think Drake was a stumble block. I think, for Jacobs, it definitely stinks for Drake. But for Jacobs, it definitely stinks they acquired Drake. But I personally feel that Edmonds is going to play well. I think they're going to sign someone. Eno's there behind him who will get a couple touches. But as far as the future, for me, running backs are done in like 2-3 years. Even like the best ones, I try to move on and go young 2-3 years every time. So I'd say for 2021, 2022, yeah, I think he could be. But as far as like any further than that, yeah, I don't know. I think by then, I think he'll be done. Not done career-wise, just I think by then they'd have somebody else that either progresses or, they sign someone in this draft.
Yeah, I think if you have Chase Edmonds, sell him now to anybody
For
that
sure.
believes he can be a number one running back. Because I think the Cardinals draft a running back in this draft. I think there's some guys. This draft seems to have a bunch of the guys that would fit in this offense perfectly. I mean, outside of the top three, you got Etienne, Najee Harris, and Javonte Williams that are sort of the top tier. But even if you go beyond that, you got Gainwell, who's sort of a pass catching running back. You've got Javian Harris or Hawkins. He's another guy that can be a pass catching running back. Chuba Hubbard can be one of those guys. So all these guys kind of played in this type of offense, spread offense, and the ability to catch the ball. So I think they're going to get somebody. They may, wait the second, third round and get them. But I think Chase Edmonds is going to be an ancillary piece. He'll be the third down guy. He'll be valuable in the sense that he'll still get the PPR points, stuff like that. But if anybody believes in your league that he's a number one running back, trade him right now. Go ahead and get rid of him.
Yeah, if you can get RB1 value, I'd trade him. I wasn't necessarily touting him as an RB1, but I definitely think he's a high-end RB2. And I think when you're getting him around like the 7th, 8th, I think I got him even in the 9th round in the draft.
Yep.
I think that's great value.
That
you
is.
start him even as an RB3, a flex. And I don't know, for me, him getting 7 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns is great, even if 50% of the time he's sharing with an Etienne or whoever they pick up. But I like Edmonds, and I think absolutely if someone will buy him for an RB1 value, you definitely sell. But as an RB2 and a late guy or semi-late, mid-late guy, 8, 9, 10 round, I think that's incredible value for a guy like Edmonds.
Yeah, it's all about perspective, how you went and acquire him. If it's a startup draft, you get him late, obviously you're getting some good value. But if you pick this guy off of waivers, like to Jeff's point, man, you gotta flip this bacon while it's crispy, So, like Edmonds was all right as a runner. Like he didn't really have like a heavy workload, which kind of scares me. That the Cardinals probably don't think he could handle that workload. But the guy has a knack for catching the ball. He had 53 receptions for 400 yards or so. Kyler Murray, he could be that short outlet option. But I personally agree with Geoff. I think they're going through the draft. They're going to get someone. And if they don't get someone, hey, it could be the Chase Edmonds show for 2020, but I don't think it's going to be that show for that long. And another wide receiver who's pretty damn good, if you ask me, DeAndre Hopkins. Is he a sell-high player right now?
Yeah, I actually think he is. And it's funny because I just recently bought DeAndre Hopkins and then turned around and sold him right afterwards. And I pulled off an amazing trade. I actually traded him for one. I got him for 1 first and Paris Campbell, which I thought was crazy to get for that amount. That was a smash accept right there. But then I turned around and flipped him for 2 firsts and Gabe Davis. So I was like, all right, I got 2 firsts and Gabe Davis out of basically a first and Paris Campbell. So that was a pretty good switch. So, but yeah, I do think if you can get somebody to buy Hopkins, not that he's going to be slowing down anytime soon, but the season he had last year was ridiculous. I don't know if he can repeat that this year. So I do think that if you have Hopkins and you can get full value for him, then yeah, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a sell high. I mean, you could definitely sell him. And like he said, if you're able to do a flip like Geoff did, I would absolutely do that. But personally, if I'm in a win now mode, which in pretty much any league, dynasty or not, I'm in win now mode. So I feel like I'd like to have D-Hop no matter what. So I like D-Hop. But yeah, I don't think he's going to replicate what he just did. There's no way regression is coming. But yeah, he's a hold unless you can get the type of value. For me, the 2 first is a smash accept. I don't know if I would necessarily take Paris in a first. I think I'd need more. That's just me.
I definitely want. I acquired him this offseason. gave up David Montgomery and then a late first round pick to get him.
Oh,
But
I would do
I'm a
that.
contender, so like I want the guy who's
Yeah.
been averaging 150 targets
Right.
plus the last 6 years
Yep.
on crappy Houston teams, or I guess semi-good Houston teams. His first year in Arizona, and he still has a lot left in the tank for a wide receiver who's going to probably be 28, 29. You probably still get 3 or 4 years out of him, and we have Kyler Murray. We love Kyler Murray. I think if he's going to be the lead guy for that offense, I want every bit of Hopkins, especially if I'm a contending team. If you don't have a dog in the, I mean, if you don't have a gun in the gunfight, like you might as well sell him, get anything you can, or get the most you can. I want to say anything. He's a great player.
And when I
Yeah.
say sell high, I'm not saying you have to go out and sell him now because he's going to lose value. I'm just, if you're going to sell him at all, now's the time to do it. And with that team that I traded him away, he was my only guy. I mean, I don't have a quarterback in that league. I don't got my number one running back is Jeff Wilson Jr. If that tells you how bad my team is. But
That's
trading him away, I have 3 first round picks this year. I got 3 first round picks next year and 3 first round picks in 2023. So I'm set for a little while with those first round picks and be able to build my team up. But having Hopkins on my team was a waste. I mean, he would be scoring a ton of points for a losing team.
For sure.
All
Especially with that cast.
Yeah. Jeff Wilson Jr., my number one running back. That's the problem.
He's the team captain. But I also to mention they signed AJ Green. So Christian Kirk, what are we gonna do about this guy? Like he was probably going to be a prominent, he was supposed to be in a prominent position with Larry Fitzgerald, thinking he's going to retire soon. You'll think he'll be that young stud to Kyler Murray, but he still seems to have issues to produce on a consistent basis, along with Andy Isabella on the roster, and then DeAndre Hopkins getting 150 targets. What should we do with them?
Trade him.
What can you get from him?
I mean, anything you possibly can get, but I think it's the same thing like the Lockett situation where you got to wait till he actually performs to get something. I think Fitz, I heard some rumors he might be going to Tampa Bay. I'm sure we've all seen those rumors, but if he comes back, I don't think Kirk's getting much. I think the reason he's not consistent is mostly because of the foot injury he's always had lingering. I know they don't talk about it much, but I follow injuries pretty closely when it comes to players, and I actually liked Kirk coming out. But now I would say I personally wouldn't want Kirk on my team. I don't draft Kirk. It's not that I don't think he's talented. I just I don't think he's consistent enough, like you said. And so if you could sell him, I mean, shoot, if I can get a second, I'd take that in a second. But I don't think anyone's going to give you that. So,
Yeah. I'm going to give you all a basketball analogy because I play basketball. I've played it my whole life. But Christian Kirk is that sort of young kid on the basketball court that doesn't really get picked up because of some older guys that get picked up ahead of him. They have the guys that come out rocking the New Balance shoes. It's basically what it is. I mean, he's got Larry Fitzgerald in front of him. Now he's got AJ Green in front of him. I'm ready to give up on him. Yeah, if you can get anything for him right now, I think you are trying to sell him. He's
for
He's
sure.
had his chances and hasn't really come through on those chances. So I think it's time to move on.
Yeah, I think he's left for the dead right now. He's just basically I wouldn't say a roster clogger, but it's kind of seeming that way. I don't want to risk putting him out for 6 points, but he's also not going to give me that much value that exceeds that either.
Yeah, he's one of those guys you throw into a trade just to kind of push over.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just give you Christian Kirk too. Just take that.
A little spice on the end.
Yeah, that's true.
Send the first offer, put Christian Kirk. Oh man, he's gonna really go for that one.
I mean, he has the name. I feel like he did have that name clout coming out. He was hyped a little bit, so yeah, you could probably throw him in and try to get something as I'll just throw in this dude. But would you take a third straight up for him?
A high third, probably.
I think that's kind of where his value is. So
yeah, if it's a high third in the 12-team league, yes, I'd probably get rid of him for that.
Yeah, it's tempting. I don't know. I might want to almost just have him as a bye-week filler more than a third, but at the same time, I mean, that third could be tempted. It depends on which class. This class, yeah, I guess it's not bad. If it's like a 301, yeah, maybe.
Oh, well, fans, you just hold them for now. Just hold them. Things will get better. It's Arizona. And tight end. So
do they have one?
Yeah, New England Patriots. Take that. They have 2 and you have 0.
Man.
Oh, Poor guys. Okay, so I guess they're gonna roll out AJ Green as a tight end then. Seems to make it work.
Or Fitz.
Or Fitz. He could
They,
do the same thing.
they said Kenyon Drake's supposed to come in and play receiver, so maybe they put Kenyon Drake at tight end.
That would be
I wouldn't
something
be
else.
surprised.
So now on to the main event, the San Francisco 49ers. So we kind of had a brief discussion earlier about Jimmy G, and based off the acquisition of the draft picks today, tell me how you guys feel if you think he could rebound his career, even if it's not in the 49ers uniform.
I think he can. I think if he goes to a team like the Patriots, where they do that sort of quick passing offense where he's not taking those big hits. The problem with the 49ers offense is they're long running routes, and he has to sit back there and read the defense for a while, and he takes a lot of big hits. The Patriots offense has always been quick, get it out of his hands fast. He won't get hit as often, and very safe and conservative, which we all know Jimmy G is probably the most conservative quarterback in the NFL. He does not throw the ball down the field very much. So if you're looking at it in that respect, if he goes to the Patriots, I do think he can sort of have a rebound of his career. Now, would I want him in fantasy? Probably still not, but as far as his NFL career, I think he could still be pretty good.
Yeah, I'll definitely still have a chance if he can move to another team. I would think the Patriots would be the best fit. Who knows? It's all hearsay. I don't know if Belichick is indeed trying to get him back for when Cam gets hurt again. But, I mean, Jimmy's okay. You know, there's nothing really against him as a talent. I just think his best value as far as whether it comes to fantasy or real life is 4 or 5 games. He plays really well, and then they try to sell him before the deadline. That's what I would do if I was a GM.
I'm just not a believer in Jimmy. Like, I don't know how he got y'all to the Super Bowl, but kudos to that man.
That defense, man.
He didn't. The defense did. He did it in spite of him.
Yeah, that defense was, yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I think he can rebound somewhere, but I don't think he's going to just have, like, that same leash that he did when he, like, left the Patriots and he's been playing for the San Francisco 49ers. Like, I thought, like, I heard the Patriots as well, but I thought that was kind of like folly. I don't remember, like, the last time a player was traded to a team and then traded back to the same team. Like, that's crazy.
I agree.
But I think that also would be his best chance. Like, that's where he kind of got his allure from when he just started those couple games when Tom was he suspended or was he hurt?
He was hurt. Yeah, he was out.
Hurt.
When he
maybe he was suspended. Yeah, it was at 4 games.
Oh, I thought he was hurt.
Nah, that was the
that was Castle, I think. Yeah, Matt Castle.
Oh yeah, that could be true. Showing my age.
So yeah, if he goes, like, he just needs to go to a different place. Like, that could jumpstart his career, but maybe find a good offensive coordinator or coach that knows how he plays.
He needs like a Wentz situation. He has got to go to a team that just has a line so he doesn't get hit. If you don't get hit, you'll be great. Any QB can really be. I mean, shoot, I like Tyrod Taylor if he had a line. You know, like, just gotta give Jimmy a line. He'll be all right.
That's true. I'm a fan of all those guys. So running back wise, you guys have like 15 of them. But at the top of the chart are 2 fantasy favorites from last year: Jeff Wilson Jr., rock star, touchdown magnet, versus Raheem Mostert. Whose value is better?
Go ahead, Ricky.
I like Wilson. I think Wilson showed, he had those 4 TDs when he first came in, I think 2 years ago. Last year, we obviously saw he was good till the ankle injury. I think he's actually a stud. More than Mostert. I mean, I like Mostert too. I think they're a good tandem. It's just I do think they're both I hate calling people injury prone, but I think they're somewhat injury prone. And so they're definitely going to sign someone. Maybe Hasty comes back from the collarbone. I don't know. He looked kind of good in that flash game that he was in. But it's a committee, so it's hard for me to lean one way or the other. I mean, you're going to see games where Jeff is the man. You're going to see games where Raheem is the man. And I personally lean Jeff because I have him on all my teams, but that's probably the only reason if I'm being completely transparent here.
Yeah, so here's another situation where I think the guys on the roster right now are not going to be your RB1 to start the season. I think the Niners are going to draft a running back. I think they're looking at the running. I think Jeff Wilson is great. Mostert is great. Neither one of them can stay healthy. Tevin Coleman's no longer there. McKinnon's no longer there. So the third running back is DeMichael Hasty, which he looked okay last year. But I don't think they're looking at this team and thinking, okay, we can grind as much as we want to run the ball with these 2 guys. They just can't stay healthy. If I had to pick one of those 2 guys, it is Jeff Wilson Jr. because he does have that ridiculous touchdown ability. I don't know what it is. He has that where he just finds the end zone. I think the year he had those touchdowns you're talking about, he had like 27 carries and 4 of them were touchdowns. So it's like
I don't even think he had that many, but yeah, it was like 4 touchdowns and like 23. Yeah, something like that.
It was crazy. And even last year, I think he had a bunch of touchdowns. I think he had a game where he had 3 or 4 touchdowns, and then I think he broke his leg in that same game. So what could he have done if he didn't break his leg? So
yeah, I think he hurt his ankle. Yeah, it's tough,
something
man.
like that. Yep. I think Wilson is also the better receiver too. So you do have that, that going for you. We talked about this on a podcast I went on a few nights ago, and they brought up a great stat. But Raheem Mostert only has 1 career 100-yard rushing game, if you can believe that. That's pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so I didn't believe it either. I thought those games where he has those 70-yard runs, he had to get 100, right? But most of them, he ended up getting hurt in that game and never finished them. So he's only done it one time.
Yeah, that's what I was just like flashing in my head. I was like, dude, I just remember like watching like the highlights, and it's just like him just murdering like the Jets. I think it was the Jets game.
Yep.
And he had like that first play, it was a big play, and then I guess like he did get injured. So I think it's Jeff Wilson. You take the injury history for both of them, put them aside. I want that upside with it seems like the 49ers could rely on him as a second running back. Like he was buried pretty much like as a 4th string last year, and he's shown what his worth the last 2 years. And for me, I'm just iffy of Mostert. Like, I know he's an older running back. He's almost going to be 29, I think, 28, 29 coming this year. So I don't want that kind of aging running back on my roster at this moment. So if you get Wilson theoretically cheaper, I'll go with that route.
Yeah, it's hard to move Mostert. I mean, I've had him for a while. He's kind of like a weight. No one will take him. I've tried to throw him in like we're trying to throw Kirk in, and no one bites on that. So he's just a guy. I think he's good to have if you have Jeff. If you have them both, all right, cool. If one gets hurt, you have the other. But I'm with Jeff. I mean, I think they are going to draft someone probably like a Jamar Jefferson or, I mean, man, Hawkins is great. I just don't think he's going to get the capital for the Niners. I think they want someone that's more like a mixture of a Wilson and what they had with McKinnon. That's what I think they're looking for.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So for the wide receivers, we had Deebo Samuel 2 years ago, rock star wide receiver. And then you guys go in and you guys pretty much picked the last of the first round crop of wide receivers and Brandon Ayuk, who seemingly had a pretty good year for the circumstances attributed to the 49ers season with all the injuries and whatnot. So who would you rather have, Ayuk or Samuel?
So this question also came up on the last podcast that I was on, and I was all prepared to say Deebo Samuel is who I wanted because he was the cheaper one. I think we did it by round, so I think Ayuk's going in the 7th and Samuel was going in the 10th. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go Deebo because he has a little bit of upside there. I'm getting for a lot cheaper. And then Jordan McNamara, who's my guest on that show, killed my hopes and dreams because he gave me a couple stats on ADOT and how Samuels is like the last. He's dead
it's
last.
Like negative almost.
Yeah, and he and then Ayuk was one of the top guys in ADOT, and he changed my mind. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to pay up for Ayuk. I do think that he has. I think both of them are going to be canceling each other. I think they kind of limit each other's ceiling. I don't think neither one of them are going to be like a clear alpha. They're going to be kind of like a 1A and a 1B, which kind of limits their ceiling in fantasy. But if I'm having to pick one of those two guys, I think it's going to be Ayuk for me.
I 100% agree. And I started out actually with Deebo. It's even before you guys started speaking about this. I really, really love Deebo. I felt like Deebo is the guy, but the injury prone thing is a problem for me with any player. And so I know Ayuk has a little bit of that history as well, but I just think Ayuk's such a monster. I mean, 60 receptions for receiver, especially one of the ones that they took at the end. I think they got a steal, especially if you compare it to, Las Vegas with Ruggs. I mean, man, talk about sabotage. I mean, that was a hit.
Yeah,
I still like Rager. I mean, that's a whole nother subject there because I think he can even bounce back more than Ruggs in my own personal opinion. But Ayuk is a monster, man. If you can get Ayuk, he's going pretty early. He gets reached for in like the 5th. To me, that's early. I'd rather get him in like the late 6th, 7th. But if you can get him around there, I think he's going to be awesome, especially for fantasy.
Yeah, I was super upset when we drafted him because we passed on our first round pick. We passed on CeeDee Lamb, and then we passed on Justin Jefferson on the second draft pick, and we took Ayuk, and I was so upset. But now I'm like, okay, he played well, softened the blow a little bit, doesn't hurt quite as much, so I'll take it.
Oh, no, he definitely made up for it. I mean, at first I felt the exact same way, Jeff. I mean, I was super disappointed. I thought Lamb was the man even before, and I mean, he's going to be a stud. But hey, I think Ayuk's good enough. He's not Lamb, but I think he's going to be good enough.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's phenomenal. I'm a Debo Samuel owner, and like I wanted to phrase this question for all the hopes and dreams of my Debo shares on that team, but I'm gonna have to go with Brandon Ayuk as well. Like my main point was going to be what Geoff brought out was the A dot. Like Debo Samuel pretty much catches the ball at behind or just in front of the line of scrimmage, while Brandon Ayuk is actually running these. I want to say like sophisticated routes, but he's actually getting down the field, and we did see with Debo shelved up, Kittle shelved up, that he can be that alpha receiver for the quarterback. Um, Pretty much, we'll say like from week 7 to week 15. I know he was out 2 games in a bye. He scored more than double-digit fantasy PPR points. His lowest amount in that stretch was 19.7 points. So he had a couple of 20-point games. I know he was heavily targeted. So I want that guy who profiles, has less mileage under him, and a cleaner bill of health rather than Debo and his foot injury that seems to be reoccurring. And tight end. So you guys have a stud muffin on your team. If you didn't have George Kittle on your team, what would you acquire to get him? And I'll specifically start with a tight end premium league. George Kittle, what would you give up to get him?
If I'm trying to get Kittle, I'm probably having to. I mean, because of that position, the way that position is, you got 3 guys at the top, maybe 4 if you want to put Hawkinson in there. But then it drops off so much. That position is so valuable. You might be looking at having to give up an RB1. And I don't know if I'm willing to give up that much for a tight end. I mean, if I really wanted to attain him, I'm probably going to have to give up an RB1 to the owner that has them because he knows how valuable he is. It would be tough, though, for me to trade that much for a tight end. But, man, Kittle's amazing. I mean, I think he had a game this past year with 15 targets, and, I think he caught 14 of them or something. It's, that's receiver numbers right there at the tight end position. But, yeah, I think RB1 is what you're looking for to a low end RB1, obviously, to get Kittle.
Yeah, that is what it's going to take. I wouldn't give that up myself. I own a lot of Kittle as well, and if I was to accept an offer, I would need a minimum of a first and a starter. But if it's just a 1-for-1 swap, I would try to do the receiver end, like a McLaurin for Kittle. And I love McLaurin, but if I'm the guy who just really loves Kittle, I think that's what you'd have to give up in order to preserve giving up an RB. I think RBs are just, you got to hold on to them, especially this year. There's not as many. It's just too scarce. So I wouldn't give up an RB for any tight end. That's just me. But I would, unless it's a super, super late RB, but not one of the ones that are going to help us win championships. So, yeah, I would take a first and like a flyer player, maybe, but I mean, that'd be the lowest. But yeah, if it could be a 1-for-1 swap, like even McLaurin's too high, I wouldn't even give up that much. But around that range, I think that's what you could get for a Kittle swap 1-for-1.
I'm pretty much a bad person to answer the tight end premium because I don't really play in that league. But say for instance, like I'll do a desperate trade out there. So like maybe I could like fish around a younger wide receiver like Marquise Brown, maybe a later first round pick, and then you just sprinkle in that Christian Kirk, and you might get yourself a deal.
Oh man, that'd be funny if you could pull that off.
Yeah, but okay, so we'll scratch the tight end premium. But what would you give up in like just a regular redraft league for George Kittle?
In a redraft league, if I didn't draft him, he's probably almost unattainable. At least from my perspective, I'm not going to pay what the owner because he paid up for that pick. He took him second round. He believes in having a tight end, and any owner that's going to do that is not going to sell him in a redraft league. I don't believe unless you're going to drastically overpay for him, and I won't do that.
Sorry, I got my washer and dryer super loud in the background, so I was like, I'm hoping he talks long enough where the noise is too bad in the background. Yeah, no, I think in redraft, you said what would we give to acquire him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think in redraft you could easily do a receiver swap, not a Marquise Brown. I don't think that would happen. I think Marquise Brown's value is pretty low, but I think a little lower than McLaurin. I think that's what it would still take. Same thing.
Oh, I don't know why I said redraft. I meant regular, but like in a redraft league, I think if you weren't to acquire like a elite tight end, I think you have to do it earlier in the season when you could have more opportunities to hit the waiver wire to acquire like some waiver wire studs, say like a James Robinson or something. You keep fishing for that player, and then eventually down the road you might hit on that running back. So I don't think it's like fathomable to give up a good running back for a tight end like Kittle in those leagues. But I get, if I had Kittle, you kick rocks. You ain't getting them. Like I got
Yeah,
that position locked down.
Yeah.
You go mess around Jonnu Smith or something. Like
I said,
get your point.
The owner that took him is basically believes in the tight end and having a great tight end, and that's just, it's going to be hard to pay for. You have to overpay for him.
Yeah, I mean, I took him second in my startup when he came out, and I still have him, and I've gotten offers, but I mean, there's nothing that makes me be like, oh yeah, I definitely want to accept that. Like, nah, not at all. Like, that's George, man. He's entertaining to watch, and don't we all want entertaining players that we like to root for, whether you're a fan of George, the Niners, or not? I just feel like it's fun to cheer for players like that, and he's fun to cheer for. So,
Yep,
he ain't going nowhere.
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
Then we're just gonna end it with the Rams here. They made a splashing quarterback swap. They sent Jared Goff and sent his ass to Detroit, and then they kind of took Matt Stafford in, say, hey, yo, come down to Sunset Boulevard. We got all the sunshine and a nice stadium. So given the circumstances, do you think Stafford kind of has a longer dynasty value or a better dynasty value than he would have been if he was in Detroit? I know long's a weird word, though. I'm sorry. I know long's a weird word in Dynasty because, like, I think long is like 3 years in Dynasty, but like the way the questions phase, you're probably thinking 5 years.
I mean, the Rams they're putting a lot of nice pieces around him. I do think there's still a question or two on that line. I don't think that's talked about enough. I mean, not to say that they have a bad line, but I do think it's definitely better than Detroit's, and I do think it's good. I just think that Stafford he can't really get hit either. Like, I know people think he's strong, but he's pretty injury prone himself, and I think they're going to be good for a good 2 years with him, maybe 3 max. But I wouldn't want Stafford. Like, if Stafford has an incredible year this year, oh yeah, I'll sell him in any type of league for anything I can get because his value will be real high. Rams are definitely going to make playoffs again. I think he makes their team better. Akers is going to make him better as well. I mean, Swift, you could say Swift and Akers were even. So if he stayed in Detroit, I think his value would be pretty similar. But as far as like winning and like his stats and his value, whether it's real life or fantasy, it's definitely going to go up with the Rams.
So I'm going to be on the opposite side of the fence here on Stafford. I do think he's got some long-term value. He's he's 33. You know, we got Aaron Rodgers at 37. We got Tom Brady.
What's long-term, though?
I think you can get a good 5-6 years out of Stafford with LA. I think
oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean, 32 years old. And you say he's injury-prone, and I know he has that label, but he really isn't because after 2010, he played 8 straight seasons where he played every single game. On 2019 where he got hurt, and then of course last year he came back and played all 16 again. He's been kind of an Iron Man there for a long time. He had that earlier in his career where he got that label, and people still kind of had that in the back of their head that he's injury prone, but he didn't miss a single game for 8 years. That's pretty good for a quarterback, especially one that played in a bad team like the Lions. So I do think that Stafford's going to be a great fit in LA. I think he's going to have a good second half of his career. I think he had at least 4,000 yards in every season that he's completed. The full season. So, I mean, there's that. He's had a couple good years with touchdowns, 32 in 1 year. He had 29 in 1 year. He had 26 last year. I think McVay will find a way to get that offense to what it was a few years ago when they had Gurley back there with Cam Akers, who we'll get to in a minute. And, yeah, I think Stafford right now, if you could find someone in your league, if you got, a young quarterback that maybe is not quite ready to start in your dynasty league and you want that sort of veteran guy to get you for a couple more years, Stafford is the guy to go get because people are not buying him right now. And I think he's got at least 5-6 years of good production left.
I like that. I think he has long-term value. Just to be honest, the man's thrown 4,000 yards just walking out of bed when he's in Detroit. Sean McVay had Jared Goff throw for 4,600 yards in 2 consecutive seasons, and then he's a pumpkin the next year. If you could tell me he's getting Matt Stafford now, this man probably going to have 5,000 yards. I'm very bullish on Matt Stafford this year. I would say the industry, but we'll say Vegas is pretty bullish on the Rams. Chances to win the NFC West, and so analysts and all that good stuff. So I think he'll have long-term value. It's a quarterback, just like Tom Brady's 40, like 5. He's still playing. Drew
I mean,
Brees, you
he's the
got the
outlier, though,
40.
no?
Not
He is the
anymore.
outlier,
Not
but like
anymore.
you have
Drew Brees
quarterbacks playing
played
the
the
40 now.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Brees played to 40. Aaron Rodgers is, 37, 38, and we don't think he's slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, I didn't think slowing down. I just meant as far as QB1 long term. I think 6 years is, for me, is a stretch. I think at 38, 39, even with Rodgers, I mean, he had a career year, but the year before, and that's at 38, it wasn't that great. So I kind of think Stafford is good for 3 years. Win now, he's going to be awesome. Maybe 4, and maybe you're right, maybe 5 to 6. I just personally wouldn't want a QB like that because I want my QB to be mobile. And these days, I think all the QBs are trying to train to be mobile. I mean, even Herbert, people don't talk about it enough, but he's actually pretty mobile. I think he had 6 or 7 TDs. You give me a guy like that all day, I'd rather have someone like that than Stafford. Not to say I don't want Stafford. I just think 5 or 6 years is a little too long for me, just for fantasy purposes. Real life, yeah. I mean, absolutely. He's going to play probably 8 years. I'm just saying fantasy-wise, I don't want him after 2 or 3.
Fair.
Yeah, I think he could sustain his value for 3 years, and then afterwards, I think you'll see like some, I guess, a tailing off a bit due to his age. But I still see him like in a super flex league, like he'll still be valuable even at like 36, 37, just because people are thirsty for quarterbacks in that type of league. But like a regular like 1 QB league, if we still play in those, like no one's not gonna really want much to do with them after that kind of age, in my opinion.
Agreed.
So, Rockstar Cam Akers exploded. Kind of was like almost a league winner for some redraft people until he kind of got hurt. I think in weeks 15 or 16, one of the two. I know he didn't play in the championship round, but in Dynasty, do you think he will explode to be a top 8 running back, or do you think Darrell Henderson, who got some threat in the beginning of the season, will impede that?
I don't think Darrell's a threat. And I'm one of those guys that was a little bit of a jabroni and reached for Darrell when he was a rookie. So, I mean, I was a fan of him. I thought he was going to be the guy. But I do think, again, I'm definitely the injury guy. As soon as he got injured, boom, who's next man up? It took too long for Cam to get in, but obviously once he got in, we all said, wow, oh my gosh, this guy's the real deal. So I think he is the real deal. I think he's going to top 8. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I was going to say top 10. I know he goes in that top 8 range when he's drafted, but yeah, I got him top 10.
Yeah, I have him. I just pulled my rankings up. I actually have him just outside of the top 8. I have him ranked at number 9, actually. So I do think that Cam Akers, and I mentioned it a little bit about Stafford, I do think they bring the screen game back. They've kind of gone away with it with Todd Gurley back there, and even last year they didn't do it too much. But if you look at when Todd Gurley was Todd Gurley, he was catching those little screen passes out of the backfield. I think Cam Akers has that ability to catch the ball out of the backfield and take those, those little short routes. And you add that PPR ability to what he was able to do last year already, and you got a top 10 back easy.
Yeah, he's a stud for me. I haven't really gone through my running back rankings, but I could foresee him being around that 8 to 10 range for me. I just know there's like pretty solid running backs who were hurt last year, like Barkley and McCaffrey. So I think that would kind of have an influx of running backs moving back towards like a yearly end ranking. But this guy has everything he needs to be a running back 1. He's getting 20 carries a game, like towards the end of the season. That's showing that the Rams finally trust him. Geoff mentioned the PPR ability. He can catch the ball, and he's decent at it too. So we'll see if Matt Stafford could fully utilize that. I think he could take a step forward just having a competent quarterback at the helm instead of Jared Goff throwing a turnover every bad drive or so. But I think the Matt Stafford move will stabilize him, and Cam Akers is ready to roll in 2021.
Agreed.
And then the wide receivers, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. These guys are kind of mishmash how they perform some weeks, but who would you rather have on your dynasty team if you had to choose one?
This is a tough question because we don't know what Stafford's going to look like in this offense. If Goff is still back there, it's Kupp, because I think he was the touchdown guy. He was Goff's security blanket. He was everything to Goff. But will that guy be Woods for Stafford? We don't know. So yeah, it's a tough call right now. I think if I'm buying one or the other, it's probably still Kupp. But it's a hard question to answer.
I'm definitely on the other side. Been a Woods fan for a while. I love
Bob
Woods.
Woods, Team
Yeah, I take
Woods.
him in every draft, man. Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I thought he'd drop." I'm like, "Nope, not when I'm in the draft. I take him around early." I think he's. I mean, what, top 12 last year? I mean, he's great. I think every year he's actually pretty good. Sure, Goff did use Cup a lot. That's true. If he was in the offense, I would say something different. But I think Stafford's going to use Woods and Cup. I think they're both going to be very valuable. You could say, like, I wouldn't say 1A, 1B. I'd say wide receiver 2A and wide receiver 2B because I think that's kind of their value. But on any given week, they're wide receiver ones. It's just that they swap. So every other week, one of them is going to be a 1, one's going to be a 2, and I lean Woods every time.
For me, I'm just a Bob Woods fan, and I just like this consistency more. And to Jeff's point, like we don't know how Cooper Cup's going to be affected with Jared Goff moving to Detroit, but I do know Bob Woods. He's a wide receiver that's utilized in different ways in this offense. You see him get jet sweeps. He can run a full route tree. The last 3 years, he's been at least top 15 in PPR. That's consistent. I want that guy on the team. If the fantasy community thinks Cooper Cup's a little bit more pricier, I'm going to go to the discount store. I'm going to get me some Robert Woods. That's it at the end of the day. And their last receiver, Van Jefferson, with Josh Reynolds departing to Tennessee. Do you think he could be that next guy up for the wide receiving core?
I'm going to say yes, and it's not actually even related to Josh Reynolds. It's more related to Gerald Everett. I think that the two of them leaving kind of gets that little because we've seen it before in this offense where they've had 3 receivers. You know, when they had Brandon Cooks, they had Cooper Kupp, they had Robert Woods, and those 3 were kind of all ranked very close together in dynasty leagues. And the fact that they got rid of one of their tight ends, and Higbee actually was never really the receiving tight end. They always wanted it to be Everett. It just Higbee sort of took that role over because Everett couldn't stay healthy. So I think the fact that they got rid of Everett, you know, Josh Reynolds leaving also helps as well. Now they can go back to what they were doing when they had Gurley. They got Akers, who takes Gurley's place. You know, now they got 3 receivers there where they can, you know, go with the Cup, the Robert Woods, and then, you know, have Van Jefferson there as well. And we showed some flashes last year of what he can do. So I do think that that's the route that they're going here with this offense.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything Geoff said. The only thing I'd say is sometimes McVay did the 2 tight end set, the 12 personnel, and then Bryson Hopkins is kind of a sneaky guy over there. I'm not saying he'll be worth more than Jefferson, but if he ends up getting a lot of looks, I could see him and Jefferson swapping out depending on what formation they run that day.
And for me, opportunity matters at the end of the day. If there's vacated targets and if there's 2 players with vacated targets, you know someone has to soak them up, and they're going to have to move someone up. It's going to be Van Jefferson. Obviously, you'll think Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp could have a more influx of targets and catches, but Van Jefferson is an emerging wide receiver that could be acquired for cheap, you would think. And I don't know. Okay, tight ends. Tyler Higbee. I don't even think there's tight ends on my sheet, but so we'll end it here then. Thank you for watching the show, guys. This is your NFC West review. As always, you can follow us at the Fantasy Coaches on Twitter. You can follow me at Hot Take Honcho. Geoff, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Geoff Lambert 77. That's Geoff spelled Geoff.
And then, can you tell them where you can find your content? I didn't go over that in the beginning of the show.
So you goingfor2.com is the website. We also have a podcast network with. We just now added our 8th show, a Debbie show that'll be starting here pretty soon. But you can find it on YouTube if you just go to Going4 2 Live is where you can find it on YouTube.
Give them a follow, guys, if you're not following already. And Ricky, where can they find you?
I'm on Sleeper as Ricky Williams, at Ricky Williams. Feel free to hit me up. I run a lot of leagues on there. I do some admin work here or there. And if you guys need anything, message me on Sleeper at Ricky Williams.
Hi, Ricky. And I guess that'll be it, guys. I appreciate you guys coming on the show.
Definitely.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
All right, guys. And